Calling from an 816 area code. Who's this? Where you calling from?
Hey everyone, this is Jake from Kansas City.
Did you call me Ron?
No, I said to everyone.
Oh, okay. All right, sorry.
That's
Jake,
okay.
Jake from Kansas City. What's on your?
You can call him Ron if you want.
If you feel more comfortable.
Okay, sure, V. So I'm here in Kansas City and just got a tattoo. It's pretty sweet.
Congratulations.
And yeah, that's my first one. Thanks. Well, the thing is, my tattoo artist is really good at his tattooing, but kind of had some bad politics, and you don't want to really...
Tattoo artists with bad politics? The joke is that they're often... sorry, keep going.
Is that really... Because, I was telling them about how I got vaccinated and everything with my first Pfizer vaccine, and that's great. And he's going on about, well, I don't want to put that in me and whatnot. I don't know what that is.
Dude, first off, as soon as you said you went and got a tattoo during a pandemic, my first reaction was like, you got a tattoo during a pandemic? And now if you're telling me that you went to a guy who was skeptical about COVID, I got to say, I'm not just questioning his judgment. I'm questioning your judgment.
It's not. Well, I mean, I got vaccinated. Doesn't that help a bit?
You've got one. You have one vaccine. You got shot. How long ago?
First vaccine a couple of weeks ago.
Well, all right. I mean,
you
you're
got
up
a good
there.
amount
You're
of
up there.
protection.
I mean, I personally, like,
fair enough.
It's going to be a little bit of time before I go into a sort of a closed area where someone has to actually like physically touch me throughout the entire process and breathe in my face.
You're fine, dude. It's okay.
But okay.
You're fine.
Does he believe in like sanitizing his instruments too? Like, will he use any type of like rubbing alcohol and the stuff, or is he just like, I'm not going to go, that's
Honestly, it seemed like, he was making, and all the other tattooers were making kind of side comments of like how some people overreact about certain sanitizing things. And I don't know, that's not the point. The point is, it was what we were watching while I was getting the tattoo. He's going off about how it's all part of, a profit incentive and big pharma trying to make a dollar out of ore plight and whatnot. And, to some extent, there's some truth to that. But
of course.
But then he brings up like, a Joe Rogan episode, and that's what we're watching the whole time. And it's just kind of like, I'm getting but Joe Rogan's cool. How
he's what?
People, well, he's got more followers than you.
Okay.
That's Worthington's law.
Okay. All right. Yep. All right. So Joe Rogan's cool, and
so does Geraldo.
The only non-cool part about it is he's telling your tattoo artist that shouldn't take this whole thing too seriously.
You're saying that I shouldn't have said
No.
anything.
I'm saying that that Joe Rogan is cool, except for the part where he's telling your tattoo parlor guy, your tattoo artist, to not take the pandemic so seriously.
I never told him to not do that.
I'm saying
I didn't say
Joe
anything.
Rogan, who you say is cool, who you're watching in the studio.
Right.
The part about Joe Rogan that's not so cool is the fact that Joe Rogan has told your tattoo artist not to take the pandemic too seriously.
Right. Well, there was that kind of subtle assumption that I was getting from what Joe Rogan was saying and whatnot. And
did you say Joe Rogan's cool, or is that what the tattoo artist was saying to you?
I can't stand Joe Rogan. It's boring.
Yes. That's
Okay. I see.
I'm not good at communicating. Sorry, guys.
That's
It's
okay.
okay.
That's okay.
So anyhow, I mean, but this is kind of what I wanted to ask you guys is just, no, he's more popular than what. There's a huge factor of people just.
Joe Rogan's huge.
Like this sort of. What?
He's hugely popular. Yes.
Right. And I don't know. Like I just came back to the country a few months ago, and to me, it just seems like why are, and I'm not, because why is it that so many people are just okay? Like, it's just cool to not take vaccines seriously. It's not cool to, I don't know, take any, or it's like not cool to be political per se or whatnot. And maybe that's kind of where this is all coming from. Like, Joe Rogan makes the political element seem non-political, and therefore it's cool. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's well said.
And one of the big criticisms I think that we've had over the years of Joe Rogan is that there is a certain depoliticization about stuff. Brendan's saying that's Generation X, and maybe it is to a certain extent.
I mean, it's a weird depoliticization that will have, like, you, for instance, listen to 3 hours of Douglas Murray talk about Western civilization being threatened. Like, he definitely depoliticizes, but he also politicizes it without saying that he's doing it. And yeah, I mean, I think Rogan sucks. It's not a mystery why he's popular. He's like a stand-up comic. He had a bunch of like hosting gigs on major television shows and stuff, like, and he leveraged that into a podcast and
MMA fighting.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's the
and he also just like brings on inherently, polarizing people, and so if you agree with that said person, and he basically agrees with their premises every time, if you agree with Candace Owens, you're going to enjoy Joe Rogan's show with her. If you agree with Bernie Sanders, you're going to enjoy Bernie Sanders' show with him. So it's just like he's
Jimmy
a vessel,
Dore?
whatever, but more often than not, he's a vessel for that other side, like the wrong side, and so he doesn't really have, that's what.
I mean, yes, there's a problem in this country, and there's a lack of real sort of like, I mean, well, that was always, I think, a big criticism that we had of Rogan is that I think he's just sort of like, he's, I don't know, doesn't examine necessarily the things that he's. Look, so much of this YouTube world is chasing clicks and making the assessment that you made, which is like, you want to call it Worthington's Law, then so be it. It is. I'm going to have people on who have some currency in this medium, and that's the way you build shows, and that is, unfortunately, is really not the way that you should do it if you want to educate people in any fashion. Like, you should be discriminate. You should be discriminate.
Don't you think it would be to his advantage then, with clicks and whatnot, to, I don't know, get someone a bit more like combative, like, I don't know, Sam Seder or something? I don't know.
Not necessarily. I don't think so. I don't think it would. I don't think so. I mean, he doesn't need. He doesn't need. Nobody needs clicks less than Joe Rogan.
He's on rails, yeah.
Yeah. I'll also make a point that there's a certain type of leftist who, like, I think rightfully says we should steer away from the culture war, but also says we should be a little bit more like Joe Rogan. And that is all Joe Rogan's content is. It's culture war from the right, which he generally lands on the right, but it's all culture war stuff. I mean, that's a depoliticizing tactic in itself.
Yeah.
But I would also say, when you go into a tattoo parlor without your second shot, I don't know what the situation is, but I will be a little bit nervous. I mean, frankly, me personally, not so much nervous, but like, I don't know. You just,
we wore masks. Huh? You didn't want to.
Yeah. Right. But can I just say on that point, them saying pharma has a perverse incentive. Tattoo parlors also have a perverse incentive to minimize the reality of coronavirus. And I wonder if that point was lost on them, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, and on some level, it's like, I've held off on stuff that I could probably safely go in, but also part of it is just sort of saying like, is signifying. It's sort of saying like, I'm taking this seriously because there are other people who don't necessarily have multiple shots. There are other people who don't necessarily have access to, to good hospitals or whatnot. I mean, that is, it's like, it's either as a society we're addressing this or we're not.
Well, maybe just the way I communicate, but usually when I bring up those points, they just kind of brush them off like, well, I'm not going to take you seriously because, well, maybe because you're just overreacting about everything, and I don't know.
No, well, hang in there. Keep pushing.
You know, like my own brother kind of has similar thoughts, and it's just like I'm talking to a wall about these kinds of things.
Well, let me put it this way. You don't know when you're pounding on that wall, you don't know what's happening inside of it. So all I would say is keep at it. You don't know if it's if things are crumbling. And of course, you know, you're in a different context. I mean, the different regions of the country have different perspectives on this, without a doubt. On some
This was in
level.
Iowa. I had to try the Iowa to get. But okay, well,
All right, dude.
I mean, thanks. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Okay.
Appreciate the call.
It was all good. Thank you.